If you or someone you care about is receiving NZ Super, a veteran's pension, or any main government benefit, there is one decision, one simple action that could quietly cost you hundreds of dollars every single year without you ever realizing it. And the worst part? Most people who've fallen into this trap have absolutely no idea it's happened to them. Today, we're going to make sure you're not one of them. I'm David, and you're watching New Zealand Pension Plan, the channel where we break down NZ Super, government support programs, and important updates that could directly affect your finances, so you can make informed decisions and make sure you're receiving every entitlement you may qualify for. Today's topic is the winter energy payment for 2026. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. You've heard about the winter energy payment before. You know it gets paid automatically, and you think there's nothing new to know. But I want you to stay with me because what we're covering today is not the basic overview. We are going specifically into the opt-out trap, a rule buried in the official work and income policy that has the potential to permanently cut off your winter energy payment. Not just for this year, but for every single year going forward, unless you take action to fix it. We're also going to cover the confirmed 2026 payment rates, the exact dates your payments start, the overseas travel rule that can create a debt with wins if you get it wrong, a couple's issue that is causing some households to receive incorrect payments right now, and we'll be debunking several false claims that are circulating online about this payment. There's a lot to get through, so let's get into it. First, let's make sure everyone is on the same page about what the winter energy payment actually is and who it's for. The winter energy payment, often called the WEPI, is a government payment administered by the Ministry of Social Development through Work and Income New Zealand. It's been running since 2018, and its purpose is straightforward: to provide extra financial support to eligible New Zealanders during the colder months of the year when heating costs are at their highest. It runs from the 1st of May through to the 1st of October every year. That's 22 weeks of additional support, paid automatically on top of your regular benefit or pension payments. And I want to emphasize that word, automatically. You don't apply for it. You don't fill in a form to receive it. If you are already receiving a qualifying payment from Work and Income, the winter energy payment is simply added to what you already get. It lands in the same bank account on the same payment cycle. Now, who qualifies? The list is broad. If you're receiving NZ superannuation, you qualify. If you're on a veteran's pension, you qualify. Jobseeker Support, including the health condition and injury categories, qualifies. Sole parent support qualifies. Supported living payment qualifies. Youth payment and young parent payment both qualify. Emergency maintenance allowance qualifies. And if you're a student receiving Jobseeker Support student hardship through StudyLink, that qualifies as well. There is no income test for this payment. There is no asset test. It doesn't matter whether you own your home or rent. It doesn't matter whether you have savings. If you are receiving one of those qualifying payments and you are ordinarily resident in New Zealand during the payment period, you receive the winter energy payment. It is that broad. Now let's look at what you actually receive. The confirmed rates for the 2026 winter energy payment season are as follows. If you are single, meaning you have no partner and no dependent children, you receive $20.46 per week. Over the full 22-week season, that adds up to approximately $450 in additional support going directly into your bank account. If you are in a couple one, whether you live together or separately, or if you are a sole parent with dependent children, the rate is $31.82 per week. Over 22 weeks, that comes to approximately $700 in total support for the season. I want to be very clear about something here because there's a lot of misleading information online right now. Some third-party websites are publishing figures suggesting the 2026 rates have increased, claiming singles will receive around $21 per week and couples around $32.50. I've reviewed those claims carefully, and the sites publishing those figures have included disclaimers stating the numbers are, and I'm quoting directly, AI-generated projections based on CPI trends. They are not official figures. They are estimates. The confirmed official figures published on the Work and Income New Zealand website are $20.46 for singles and $31.82 for couples and families. the same rates as 2025. If there is any official change announced by MSD, we will cover it immediately. But right now, as of today, those are the verified numbers, and those are the only numbers you should be working with when budgeting for this winter. And now, let's talk about something that often catches people off guard: the payment timing. The winter energy payment officially begins on the 1st of May 2026. However, May 1st is a Friday, and the way work and income processes payments means things work slightly differently in practice depending on your payment cycle. If you receive your benefit on a weekly basis, your first winter energy payment will be a part payment in the week of May 4th. You will receive the full weekly amount from the week of May 11th onwards. If you receive NZ Super or a veteran's pension, which are paid fortnightly, your first winter energy payment will appear as a part payment on May 5th, 2026. The full fortnightly equivalent amount will come through from May 19th, 2026. The payment runs through to October 1st, 2026. That's the end date. After that, the winter energy payment stops automatically for the season. Now, here's something important about what happens after October. For people who have never opted out of the winter energy payment, the system automatically restarts the payment the following year. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to reapply. As long as you are still receiving a qualifying payment from work and income, your winter energy payment will begin again on the 1st of May the following year. That is the normal rule. And for most people, that is how it works, year after year without any effort on their part. But, and this is absolutely critical, that automatic restart rule has a condition attached to it. And that condition is the heart of what we need to talk about today. Stay with me, because this next section could be worth hundreds of dollars to you. Let's talk about the opt-out trap. The winter energy payment is designed to be received automatically. The government does not expect most people to turn it down, but the option to opt out does exist. You can stop your winter energy payment at any time by completing the Stop or Restart Winter Energy Payment form on the Work and Income website, or by contacting Work and Income directly. There are legitimate reasons someone might opt out. Perhaps you're spending the entire winter overseas. Perhaps you feel financially comfortable enough that you'd prefer not to receive it. Perhaps there's been a change in your circumstances. Whatever the reason, the option is there. But here is the rule that Work and Income publishes clearly on their official website, and that far too many New Zealanders simply do not know. Once you opt out of the winter energy payment, Work and Income will not restart it for you. Not just for the current year, but for every future year, unless you specifically ask them to. I'll say that again because it's that important. If you opt out, the payment stays off permanently. It does not switch back on automatically next May. It does not reset after the season ends. It does not come back when your circumstances change. From the moment you opt out, the default in the system is that you do not receive the winter energy payment, and it stays that way indefinitely until you take action to reinstate it. So let's think about what that means in real terms. Imagine a pensioner. Let's call him Brian. Brian is 72 years old, receives NZ Super, and back in 2022, he decided to spend 6 months in Australia visiting his children. Before he left, he opted out of the winter energy payment because he wasn't going to be in New Zealand to pay heating bills. Sensible decision. But Brian came home, got on with life, and 4 years later, he has completely forgotten that he ever opted out. He assumes the payment is coming through automatically like it used to. He has no idea that he hasn't received the winter energy payment for 4 winters in a row. At $20.46 a week for 22 weeks, that's $450 per season. Over 4 years, Brian has missed out on approximately $1,800 in support that he was entitled to receive, and he didn't know. That is the opt-out trap. It is silent, it is permanent until reversed, and it is entirely avoidable if you know what to look for. So here's the action I want you to take right now, or as soon as you finish watching this video. Log into your MyMSD account. Check whether your winter energy payment is currently active. If you are not sure whether you've ever opted out, call Work and Income directly on their seniors line. The number is 0800552002. Ask them to confirm whether the winter energy payment is showing as active on your account. This takes one phone call, and that one phone call could recover hundreds of dollars in support going forward. Now, if you have opted out in the past and you want to get the payment restarted, here is exactly how to do it. You complete the same form you would use to stop the payment. It's called the Stop or Restart Winter Energy Payment form, and you'll find it on the Work and Income website at services.workandincome.gov.t.nz. You can also call Work and Income directly and ask them to restart it over the phone. Once you restart it, the payment will begin from that point forward. But here's something else I need to be very direct about. If you restart mid-season, you will not receive backdated payments for the weeks you missed. Some people assume that if they reinstate in June or July, they'll receive a catch-up payment going back to May. That is not how it works. Work and Income will not backdate the winter energy payment. You get paid from the date the restart is processed, and that's it. So the earlier you act, the better. If there is any chance at all that your winter energy payment is not currently active, do not wait. Check today. Restart today if needed. Every week you delay is $20.46 for singles or $31.82 for couples that you will not get back. Keep watching because there are two more important issues I need to explain. One affects couples specifically, and the other involves overseas travel that could actually create a debt with WINZ. Let's talk about the couples issue because this one is catching people out right now. When you're part of a couple and you're both receiving NZ Super, the winter energy payment is paid at the couple's rate of $31.82 per week. That payment goes to one person in the couple. Work and Income system cannot split it across two separate bank accounts. One payment, one account, one rate for the household. But here's where the problem arises. There are couples in New Zealand right now who are both individually listed in the MSD system as single people. Maybe they registered separately years ago before they were in a relationship. Maybe there was a change in circumstances that wasn't updated. Whatever the reason, if MSD has you and your partner recorded as two separate single individuals rather than as a couple, you may each be receiving the single rate of $20.46 separately, which adds up to $40.92 coming into the household. Now, you might think, well, that's actually more money, so what's the problem? And I understand why it might look that way. But this is an overpayment. The correct rate for a couple is $31.82. If WINZ or MSD discovers the discrepancy, and they do carry out these checks, they can issue a debt notice requiring you to repay the difference. I want to be clear that this is not your fault if it has happened to you. It can occur because of how the records were set up, or because a change in relationship status wasn't reported. But the responsibility to ensure MSD has your correct household status recorded does fall on you. That's part of your obligations as a recipient of government support, so take a moment to consider this. Are you and your partner both receiving separate payments that include the winter energy payment? If so, check with Work and Income to confirm that your household status is correctly recorded. The number again is 0800552002, or you can update your details through the MyMSD portal. And one more thing on couples. If you or your partner want to opt out of the winter energy payment, you cannot do it independently. The payment can only be stopped or restarted as a couple. Both of you need to agree, and the form asks you to confirm that both partners consent to the change. This is worth knowing before you make any decisions. Now let's talk about overseas travel because this is another area where people are making costly mistakes. The winter energy payment is designed to support you with heating costs here in New Zealand. So it stands to reason that if you leave New Zealand for an extended period during winter, the rules around your payment change. Here is the official rule from Work and Income. If you leave New Zealand during the payment period, which runs from May 1st to October 1st, your winter energy payment will continue for up to 28 days. If your trip is 28 days or less, you don't need to do anything special regarding the WEP specifically, though you should still notify WINZ of your travel as required. But if you are going to be overseas for more than 28 days, the winter energy payment stops. The critical obligation here is that you must notify work and income before you leave, not after you return, before you leave. Here is why this matters so much. If you travel overseas for more than 28 days and you do not tell WINS, the winter energy payment may continue to be paid into your account while you're away. That sounds harmless. After all, it's just landing in your bank. But WINZ will eventually identify that you were overseas for a period that exceeds the 28-day limit, and they will ask you to repay those payments. That becomes a debt, and nobody wants to come home from a trip to find a repayment notice waiting for them. The way to avoid this entirely is simple. Before you travel, notify work and income of your departure date and expected return date. The easiest way to do this is through MyMSD. Log in, select Something Has Changed, and report your travel. You can also call 08 005 52 002. And here's the follow-up step that people often miss. If you return from your overseas trip before October 1st and you want your winter energy payment to restart for the remainder of the season, you need to contact WINZ to get it switched back on. It does not restart automatically mid-season just because you're back in New Zealand. You have to ask. If you don't contact them before October 1st, the payment will restart automatically the following May, as long as you have not formally opted out. So if you're returning late in the season and winter is nearly over anyway, that's less urgent. But if you're coming back in June or July, reach out to WINZ as soon as you're home to make sure you're not missing out on weeks of support you're entitled to. There's one more rule I want to cover before we move into the myth-busting section, and this one relates to people who are in long-term residential care, such as a rest home or care facility. If you are receiving a residential care subsidy or residential support subsidy because you are living in long-term residential care, you do not qualify for the winter energy payment. The reason is straightforward. Your heating costs are included in the care package provided by the facility. The winter energy payment is specifically for people who are responsible for their own home heating costs. This is also worth knowing if you have a parent or family member who recently moved into a rest home and who was previously receiving the winter energy payment. That payment would have stopped, and it's important that this is reflected correctly in their records with work and income. There is also a foreign pension rule worth being aware of. If you receive a pension from another country that fully replaces your NZ superannuation or veterans pension, you would not qualify for the winter energy payment. However, if you receive an overseas pension that only partially reduces your NZ Super A, rather than fully replacing it, you do still qualify. If you're unsure how your overseas pension affects your entitlements, I'd encourage you to speak directly with work and income to clarify your specific situation. Now, I want to spend some time addressing the myths and misleading claims that are circulating online about the winter energy payment, because some of what I've seen is genuinely concerning. The first claim is that the 2026 winter energy payment rates have increased due to inflation. This is being stated as fact on several websites. I've already addressed this, but I want to be absolutely clear. This is not confirmed. The official Work and Income New Zealand website lists the confirmed rates at $20.46 for singles and $31.82 for couples and families, the same as 2025. Sites publishing higher projected figures have included disclaimers identifying those numbers as AI-generated estimates. Trust only the official WINS website for confirmed figures. The second claim I want to address is the idea that if you opt out, you'll automatically receive the payment again next year. This is false. I've explained this in detail already, but it's worth restating clearly because this misconception is dangerous. The official Work and Income website explicitly states that once you opt out, they will not restart the payment for you, even in future years, unless you ask. Please do not assume that opting out is temporary. It is permanent until you reverse it. The third claim is that you can opt back in mid-season without missing out on anything. This is partially true but misleading. You can technically restart the payment mid-season, but you will not receive backdated payments for the weeks you missed. If you opted out in March and don't restart until July, you've lost 10 weeks of payments. For a single person, that's over $200. For a couple, it's more than $300. Act early. The fourth claim that deserves attention is the suggestion that the winter energy payment will be expanded or increased for colder regions like Otago and Southland. This sounds reasonable given that heating costs are genuinely much higher in the South Island. But as of today, there is no official MSD or government announcement confirming any such regional expansion. This appears to be speculation published on third-party commentary sites without any cited government source. Do not factor this into your financial planning. If an official announcement is made, we'll cover it immediately. The fifth claim is that you need to include the winter energy payment in your IRD tax return. This is false. The winter energy payment is explicitly non-taxable. It does not affect your IRD assessment, your tax code, or any other income-related calculation. You do not declare it. You do not report it. It has no effect whatsoever on your tax position. And the final myth I want to address is one I see discussed in community groups and online forums, and it's the belief that the winter energy payment can be received as a lump sum if requested. This is also false. Work and Income has confirmed that the payment cannot be made as a lump sum under any circumstances. It is a weekly payment, embedded in your regular benefit or pension cycle. If you need a single larger payment for a heating cost, for instance to buy firewood, you may be able to apply separately through Work and Income for an advance payment of benefit, which allows up to $300 and is repayable. But that is a separate program. The winter energy payment itself will always come through as a weekly or fortnightly addition to your regular support. Let's now bring all of this together with a clear action plan, so you know exactly what to do after watching this video. Action number 1. Log into My MSD or call Work and Income on 08 00552 002 and confirm that your winter energy payment is currently active. If you have ever opted out, even years ago, assume it may still be turned off and verify. Action number 2. Check that your household status is correctly recorded with MSD. If you're in a couple and you think there's any chance you might both be recorded as single individuals, correct that now to avoid an overpayment situation. Action number 3. If you're planning to travel overseas between May 1st and October 1st, notify Work and Income before you leave. Use My MSD or call 08 00552 002. Report your departure and return dates. If you've already opted out specifically because of overseas travel and you're now back in New Zealand, contact WINS immediately to restart your payment. Action number 4. Do not rely on third-party websites, social media posts, or online forums for information about your winter energy payment rates, eligibility, or rules. The only source you should trust is the official Work and Income New Zealand website at workandincome.gov.t.nz or the MSD eligibility checker at check.msd.gov.t.nz. Action number 5. If you are supporting an older family member, a parent, a spouse, a relative, share this information with them. The opt-out trap is particularly likely to affect people who made a one-time decision years ago and have simply forgotten about it. A quick conversation and one phone call could restore hundreds of dollars in support that should be going to them every winter. Let me give you a quick summary of the confirmed 2026 key facts. The payment period runs from May 1st, 2026 to October 1st, 2026 to 22 weeks in total. The confirmed rate for singles is $20.46 per week, totaling approximately $450 over the full season. The confirmed rate for couples and families is $31.82 per week, totaling approximately $700 for the season. The payment is non-taxable and does not affect any other benefit or support you receive. It is automatic for eligible recipients, but only for those who have never opted out. If you have opted out at any point, the payment will not restart until you personally request it. That is the rule stated explicitly on the Work and Income website. And if you're not sure whether you've opted out or not, the only way to know for certain is to check. The WINS Seniors line is 0800552 002. The My MSD portal is at my.msd.gov.t.nz. The opt-out and restart form is available at services.workandincome.gov.t.nz. These are your official tools, and they're available to you right now. Winter is already here. The first payments for this season began in early May. If you are eligible and your payment is active, that support is already coming through. But if there's any doubt, any at all, take 5 minutes today to confirm. The cost of not checking is potentially $450 to $700 this season alone, and potentially thousands of dollars over multiple years if the opt-out has been sitting unnoticed for a long time. You've worked hard, you've contributed to this country. These payments exist because the government recognizes that winter is financially tough, especially for those on fixed incomes. You are entitled to this support. Make sure you're actually receiving it. If you found this update helpful, make sure you subscribe to New Zealand Pension Plan. I'm David, and my goal is to help you stay informed about NZ Super, WINS, MSD, and every important government support update that could affect your finances. Thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next update.